Hey everyone, welcome back to the Fresh Start podcast. This is Stacy Wynn, and I'm here with Marcia. Marcia, would you like to say hello today?
I would like to say hello, and I just want to tell everyone that Stacy has an armed gunman, a loose gunman in the area.
Right. Yeah.
So I told her she needed to unblur her background so that we could see if he's like coming at her behind.
Yes, it's
In
very comforting. That's why, I turn to Marcia in my times of distress because she always has those great ideas, Just
I
unblur
know.
your Zoom background and I'll let you know if he's in your house.
I'm one of those weirdos that laughs at inappropriate times. So
But you got
sorry. Don't ever go to a funeral with me. I will laugh all the way through it. That's just me.
to.
No, no, glad to be here. So glad to be here.
Yes, real life things happening in the background. We all have dogs too, so you may hear dogs barking.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
but I am just happy to introduce my friend Angela Litwiler, who's our guest today on the Fresh Start podcast. And I've known Angela for many years now, and we have participated in a faith deconstruction community together and gotten to know one another. She is just full of fresh starts in her life and in an area near and dear to my heart with career transition and just building skills as we continue to move through life and decide what it is we want to be when we grow up. So I am just excited to hear her story today and for her to share that with you listeners. And maybe we could start, Angela, if you just want to introduce yourself and a little bit about, where you live and what you're doing right now.
Sure. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Angela, like Stacy said. I currently live in the state of Texas, where I was born and raised. I am in a suburb of Dallas. Um, and I think that what you said is correct about seeing what we want to be when we grow up. I'm trying to get there, but I don't feel like I'm there yet. And I'm glad because I like the change. I like always having something to look forward to that's different. So, yeah, currently I work for the city that I live in human resources. I am the employee life specialist, which means I onboard people, I do training and development, and my goal is to retain people. I am not the HR that wants to fire people.
You're the good guy.
Yes, I want you to stay.
Good.
Yeah, I've been perusing your LinkedIn profile and was astonished to realize that you and I weren't actually connected out on LinkedIn. So I did
Yeah.
connect with you today.
I saw that email come through just as I was getting this link, and I was like, oh, we aren't already connected.
But I see a journey in your career. So just tell us a little bit about what has drawn you, what continues to draw you to new places in your career.
Sure. I would say starting out as finishing high school, heading into college, I wanted to be a teacher and I went to school for education. My undergrad is in elementary education. And at the end of my schooling, while I was student teaching, I realized that is far from what I want to do. I do not want to be in a classroom every single day. As much as I love the kids, it was like the lesson planning and all of that was just not my favorite thing. But I instead had kids and I was able to be a stay-at-home mom for many years until they were teenagers. But during that time, my life took me on many changes. I was thinking about how to talk about change, and I always have said I don't like change. My mom was in labor with me for 36 hours and 3 weeks late. And
Gracious.
I was like, don't make me have to change my location.
I'm
But
comfy
then,
here.
yes. But then when I look back on my life, I actually really do like change and I like moving and doing something new. It gets boring to me when I'm always doing the same thing every single day. Although I love a routine, my long-term life, I want to have some variety. in that. So I was married initially to a pastor. He was a youth minister at a church. And about a year and a half into our marriage, we transitioned and we were house parents at a children's home for nearly 3 years. And we lived with teenage girls. And that was a great adventure. I absolutely loved that. But we had our second child while we were there, and it was more difficult raising kids, little kids, in that environment. So we went back to traditional youth ministry. And after about 4 years of that, we moved to Poland, like the
Oh,
country Poland.
oh my.
Yes. And so that was a big change, obviously. My mom thought moving to be a house parent at a children's home was going to be a lot, but Poland was a whole other adventure. So we were missionaries there for 6 years. That brought a whole lot of change. It brought leaving my family, familiarity, friends, a language I know, a country I know, and I took my kids who were 4 and 7 and I put them in Polish schools on like day 3 that we were there or something. And
Oh,
they didn't
wow.
speak Polish. The schools all spoke Polish. And so it was just kind of a sink or swim thing for them. I didn't speak Polish, but we learned it while we were there. And my youngest one was 4, and she spoke Polish like a national kid. Like nobody knew that she was American. And yeah, it was fun to watch them grow and struggle in their own ways throughout their time there. But for me, it was such a time of growth of having to depend on myself and on my religion and God at the time to get me through that. That change, although I felt very confident that was where we were supposed to be, it gave me a broader worldview to understand living in a different culture in a language I couldn't speak.
Mm.
I never, I mean, I got conversational, but I would never say I was fluent in Polish. And it gave me a lot more compassion for the people that live, especially in Texas, because we have a high percentage of people from Mexico living here. And some of them don't speak English, and some of them do speak English, but it's broken. And I just have a lot more compassion for, but they know a different language and they can probably speak their language and they're not unintelligent people that
Right.
they just don't, it seems like they just don't speak our language. And so we think, oh, you don't have, the same understanding that I do. But that gave me a different perspective on that and a lot more compassion for immigrants and people living in other countries. So after about 2 years, 6 years of living there, we uprooted and moved to London, England,
Oh my.
which was a whole other culture. And I actually went reluctantly to London. It was not it wasn't in my heart that I wanted to move there, but God had different plans for our family going there that I needed to be there, and so that brought all of the world to me because there is so many different nationalities living in London, so many languages spoken in
Hmm.
London. Like 8 million people, I think, live in London or did at the time. So you were never by yourself, but you always could hear a different language and eat different food. And it just really broadened my worldview for all kinds of people living in London. And it also all of that 8 years of living overseas really gave me a different perspective on my home country, on raising my kids other places, and um, yeah, just what life is like outside of the United States. When I first moved to Poland, I thought I needed all of these products from America and have somebody send me this and that. And then all of a sudden one day I started looking around and I thought none of these people are getting their stuff from America. They're all going shopping at their grocery stores. And so I just shifted what I did and acclimated, and I think it made a huge difference just in that. Just my attitude changing to living
Hmm.
amongst the people that I was called to be with.
Mm.
So that
So
was that.
were you missionaries in London as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. So we were working there. Both of those were leadership positions. So we were team leaders. So we brought new people onto our team. We worked with nationals. We developed leaders that could teach and start churches and do things like that. And so that was a fun. I really, really loved that. One of my favorite parts of that job was bringing new people on and giving them the opportunities that made me excited when I first moved to the countries and helping them fall in love with the countries that I had then fallen in love with.
Mm.
Yeah. So then after 8 years of living abroad, I found myself coming back to the United States, and my husband and I were divorcing sadly at the time. And so then I was a single mom and I had to do something to provide for our kids because most of the time I was dependent on him for our salary and insurance and living expenses, all of the things. And so,
Right.
yeah, so now here I am with think she was 15 and 10-year-old, 11-year-old, and having to then figure out how to start over. That was like my biggest start over point. And although I had a lot of experience, I didn't trust myself or believe in myself enough to think I could just go get a job and provide. And so, anyway, a friend of mine, knew somebody that worked at Stitch Fix, which is an online clothing company.
Oh, my sisters get all their stuff from Sticks.
I love Stitch Fix. There was a distribution warehouse in Dallas, and so I just applied just for a regular, like working in the warehouse position, and I just needed something, and that allowed me to really kind of be in a place of healing. All I had to do was go to work and come home and take care of my kids. I didn't have to bring anything home with me. I didn't have to um, think long term. It was just go meet my quota, come home, and that's all I had to do. And for about 8 months or so, it was good. It was exactly what I needed.
Mhm.
But then after that time, I was able to get a couple of promotions while I was there, and my heart really began to beat and get excited about human resources. And I think that is just as much of a calling as going to be a missionary because
Yeah.
not everybody wants to go into human resources.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That
Um,
is a calling for sure.
yeah. So I started positioning myself like in any of the career steps that I was going towards that would be more focused in human resources. And I realized I needed to do some kind of training in that way and started looking at different, what would be the best avenue to go down because my degree is in education. Now I'm working in this business world and absolutely loving it. And never would I have thought that I would like the business world. And so, through all of that, I thought maybe I just need to get my master's. And so I went back to school, and in August, I finished my MBA with human resources as my concentration. And I'm now working it for the city of Grand Prairie. And yeah, it has taken me all over the place. My journey in life has been everywhere.
My goodness, it really has.
Yeah.
Like,
You could definitely teach a class on fresh starts.
Yes.
Good
Yes.
gracious.
oh my goodness. Yeah, especially for someone who said at first you weren't really sure you liked change and then to
Yeah.
have to do all of that over and I mean it just sounds like every few years your entire life got uprooted and you had to start again.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as you think about all of the changes you've made, and, each time you go through, some parts of change are then more comfortable and some parts are new. But when you're talking to someone now who's considering a shift in their career, for example, and I talk to people all the time who are, I mean, you're younger than me, but at this stage of the game, like, should I even bother going back to school? Should I, make this change in my career later in life? What would you tell them?
I will always say yes. I will always say try it because you can always go back. But I think there is a lot more likelihood that if you don't do it one day, you'll be like, ah, I wish I had. And so I always will tell people to go for whatever it is that they're thinking about.
So I just, you know, I'm still wrapping my brain around the fact that you have teenagers because you look like a 25-year-old.
I actually have a 21-year-old.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And then I have an 18-year-old who's graduating from high school.
Angela, no. Oh my gosh. Okay, so yeah, I'm that is so how was it trying to navigate all this stuff and navigate it for your children too? That had to have been difficult.
Yeah, it was definitely a challenge. And I had really great teammates. We moved to Krakow, Poland first, and there was a really great established team. And so they had my kids ready and enrolled in schools before we got there.
Hmm.
So we at least didn't have to start like, oh, where are we going to put our kids? Like there was a
Hmm.
place for them to go. Um, but it was hard. It was hard knowing I'm sending you to a school and you have no idea what everybody is saying around
Hmm.
you.
Hmm.
And the challenge of that. The good thing was, again, because we had some people ahead of us that could talk us through that, like answer any of our questions that we had.
Hmm.
But I knew long term, this was going to be a great experience for my kids, being able to speak a different language, to live in a different culture. Even because my 18-year-old was 4 when we moved there, and she grew up the majority of her life overseas.
Yeah.
And she there would still be things that are just weird here in the US. Even though we've been back for several years, she does find things odd here, and it's funny to hear her. When we first got back, she was like, "People eat frozen pizzas," or "Why do they take so many tests at school?" Like seeing the US from her perspective, where we would think, well, that's just what they do. And so it was so different to hear her perspective on things. Uh,
Wow.
but yeah, it 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 was a journey for them, and it was hard. There were days that were challenging, that nobody ever said I don't want to go to school, but you could see
Yeah.
the days that were more difficult.
Hmm.
My older one had some um, more difficulty acclimating to the culture. She had ADHD, and that posed a bit of a challenge. But she got through it, and she loved living over there,
Mm.
and still talks about like that. Both of them, I think, if given the opportunity, would go somewhere else and live. As we were looking at our next move and our next adventure, I mentioned to my 18-year-old, well, what if we don't live here anymore? Like, what if we move somewhere else? And she was like, well, I thought you would, and I'm not staying in Texas forever. So it's good for them, and they see our world and politics and everything differently than most of their peers, I would say.
Yeah. Does that mean you're moving to Florida?
Florida was not on my list.
No doubt.
But Tennessee's not either.
Looking at New upstate New York, maybe, or probably London. My wife
Oh,
has her citizenship in the UK, and so there's a high likelihood we'll go back there.
oh, how cool. That is
Yeah.
cool. Well, going back to because I had a squirrel moment, I got distracted by your how young you look. So you, and not to put you on the spot, but I do know a lot of women, especially in that get in your situation where they've been married, they've depended on their husband's, income, they were stay-at-home moms or whatever. And when divorces happen, the men's lives don't seem to be quite as, you know, turned upside down sometimes because they just go on with their jobs and everything. And then the women are trying to figure out how am I going to take care of myself? So, at, do you mind me asking at what age you actually went back to school?
Yeah, let me think. I think I started in 2023, the beginning of 2023. So I must have been 43.
See that
Yeah.
is so inspiring because I know so many people are like, "Oh, I can't go back to school now," and we can. We put so many limits on ourselves. So good for you. I bet your girls were so proud of you.
I hope so. I hope it motivated them and inspired them that they
Yeah.
don't. And I always say you can go to school now for something, but it doesn't mean in 15 years that's what you still want to do. And you can always go back and do something different. there's so much pressure, I think, today on kids that they're 18, 20 years old. Okay, decide what you want to be for the
Right.
Yeah,
rest of your
it's
life. And
ridiculous.
yeah, and I'm a walking testimony of go to school, get a degree. A lot of times it's just showing an employer that you completed something
Hmm.
and then figure out what you want to do with your long-term life. And you can do that at any point.
Yeah.
So, what have you learned about yourself in the midst of all these moves?
Yeah, I learned that I am resilient. I've learned that I can acclimate to any changes that come. I don't know if you guys talk about the Enneagram or know the Enneagram. So
Oh, yeah.
Stacy does, but I'm an Enneagram 6. So I am worried about everything constantly. I have my eye on the horizon for anything that might go wrong. Um, so you would think that change would not be something that would be good for me. But as long as I have time to prepare for it and I can think through all of the worst case scenarios, I'm ready to go. Like, let's move tomorrow somewhere else and let's do it. But I've taught myself because I'll panic forever. And I've taught myself, look back at these other situations. You were terrified about X, Y, and Z. And what happened? You got through it. You figured it out. Nothing has destroyed you. You've been fine. And so I always try and remember that on the moments that I'm like, we have to change again. That it's okay. You've done it before. You can do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And when I coach Enneagram sixes, that's exactly what we talk about is, think about all the things that you've done and the fact that there's probably no problem or situation that you can't figure your way around or through. And to rely on that in those moments when you are spinning in your mind about all the possibilities. I
Yeah.
love that.
That's I'm just now realizing because I'm a 9, I'm an Enneagram 9. And I've always said that, having a wing 8 feels so unfair. Like eights are, the challengers and I'm the mediator. And that just feels like such, but I'm just thinking about you as a 6 because I go to 6 in
Yep.
stress. So I'm
Yep.
very familiar. But you've got a 7 wing. You've got
Yeah,
the
for sure.
enthusiast as your wing. So
Yes.
what that's almost as bad.
Yeah. My wife always says that my 7 wings keep wing keeps me from being huddled in a corner panicking. She's like, your 7 wing brings you out of the
Yeah.
wah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I love that. I love
And it
Enneagram
probably is
stuff.
what keeps me from being like, or makes me bored after a long time of doing the same thing. I'm like, okay,
Mm,
something different. What can I do now?
yeah.
Yeah. And so you mentioned your next idea, the next thing. So what do you know about that already?
We've been talking. We've been trying to make a plan. My wife would like for Macy to move to college in August and we move somewhere else immediately. I'm not opposed to that, but I feel like I don't want to be like, bye, you're out of the house. We're out of here. She's planning to go to the University of Arkansas, which is
Oh.
about 5 hours from us, currently. And so I want to be here for her first year so that she has home to come back to if she needs anything, that I can go up there for any parents' weekends, those kinds of things that a mom wants to do. But we also are not closing the doors if an opportunity came, so that we can make a change. My wife is from Ohio, northeastern Ohio. It's like 5 minutes from Pennsylvania. So she's very north on right on Lake Erie. And so we've talked about moving somewhere up closer there with her, closer to her family and her parents. Um, but also London is in our heart and she's looked at jobs there. She's a mental health therapist. So she's looked at positions over there, getting into the mental health field in
Mm.
London. So I don't know. We will see. I would guess hopefully in the next year to year and a half, we have a direction we're going.
I almost went to the University of Arkansas. I grew up in Arkansas
Okay.
and toured that campus. It's so beautiful up there.
So
It is
beautiful.
really beautiful, beautiful campus, beautiful area. So I hope she loves it there.
Yeah.
Go Razorbacks.
Yes. I'm not sure where it came from. We have no connection there,
I,
but She just started talking about it. It's the only school she applied to. So
Wow,
Really? Does she have
that's
yeah,
awesome.
friends going there?
she has a friend who's like generational parents, grandparents, everybody has
Gotcha.
gone to Arkansas, but she's going to the University of Oklahoma, so she's not even
Ah,
going. But yeah, I think she was just like,
Interesting.
where can I go that's not in Texas and is
still kind
far?
of close. Or
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, she wants to go far away.
Ah,
So
well, I hope she loves it. That's exciting. It's an exciting time too. I mean, oh, what a yeah, that's a change when the last one leaves the
it's a
nest.
Nest.
bittersweet. It's a bittersweet feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I've done it. And the other side of me is like, God, don't leave.
I
This is me. I've been a mom for 21
Right.
years. Don't go.
I know. It's
Yeah.
yeah. When
Isn't that part of fresh starts too? It's that grief of letting go of, because it's not always, we're not always leaving something bad. Like in your story, you continue to move forward in your career with a purpose and a passion for doing more. And still there's that, just like parenting, there's the grief of letting things go,
mm-hmm.
stages of life or locations or,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I do have one more question. I hear this question all the time. If someone's listening and they're thinking like you, okay, maybe I could do this, I could go back to school. What would you tell them in terms of how to research where to go? Like what are some ideas that you thought about that helped you?
Yeah, I think, well, I'm an Enneagram 6, so I've asked all the questions and done all the research before I made a decision. I would think one, going back to school is going to cost money. And so looking at financial, like what can you afford? What are you planning for? Is it okay to take out loans? Like that kind of stuff. And then looking at programs that fit what you want to study. I was looking for human resources, so I looked at schools that offered specific human resource degrees, but then thought about a master's in business administration that would give me a broader understanding of business as a whole and not just pigeonhole me into human resources, because I think it's important that I understand everything. Ask people, talk to other people. What do you think? Where did you go to school? What did you study? My counselor actually at the time suggested LSU's Shreveport campus, and it was all online. It's an accelerated program, so if you are crazy and don't have any other life, you can finish in 10 months. I did not do that, but you
Ah,
could do finish in 10 months if you really
wow.
work. All you did was go to school. And it was much more affordable than any of the other places that I had looked at. And so I think those are things that I would look at whenever you're making a decision about going back to school. And think about your family too. Like it was a commitment. It wasn't just me going to school. My
Mm-hmm.
family had to know, oh, I've got to spend all my evenings studying and writing papers and taking tests. And they were great and jumped in and helped and cooked and did, whatever else needed to be done to pick up the slack when I was having to really do school stuff.
Mm,
But we knew it was a season and we could do that.
That's such a good point about having a support network.
yeah. Mm-hmm. But at least there are like online, there's ways to do it, and even like my women's nonprofit works with single moms a lot, and you know, a lot of them they can only take, at least there are online options, right? But they can't like dive in full time. They can only take like a class here at a time, and they're thinking it's going to take me like 6 years if I just do it, and I'm like, yeah, but so what? It's like in 6 years, you'll have it done. But if you don't start now, if you don't try just doing a little bit at a time, 6 years is going to fly by like that. And then you're still going to be like wishing that you had done something different, with your life. But
It
yeah,
does feel like at the beginning, it feels like it's so far away.
right.
And then all of a sudden it's, oh, I'm done. And then I think even to me, sometimes the longer it takes, the more proud you are. Like the more it's like, I invested this time and I did this. Like nobody else could do my master's but me. And
Right.
that was the thing I had so much pride in, was that I did this. And just to brag, because I was very proud, I did it with all A's in all of my classes. And
I love that.
Congratulations.
I can do this. I did it at the beginning. I was like, all you have to do is make a B, you're fine. maybe a C, 1C, it'll be fine because I am a straight A student. And then I made an A in my first class and then my second one. And then I was like, okay, I'm committed now, not make A's. But
that's fantastic.
Yeah, but it can be done. And I think that thinking about like what legacy do you want to leave for your kids? Like the single moms, they have kids watching them, and it's hard and it's hard work, but those kids are watching their mom put in a lot of hard work and the value of that.
Yeah, that's inspiring. Okay, Stacy, do you have some prompts for us today?
I do. So, because we have this wonderful special guest who is going to talk about expanding knowledge and finding the opportunities to continue learning, our prompt is, what is one area of knowledge you'd like to expand upon, and how can you start learning about it today? So, from the thinking stance, identify gaps in your knowledge or areas of interest. And feeling, connect with your curiosity and your passion for learning. And doing, find and engage with a resource like a book, a course, or a support person, and find out more and get started.
That's right. Never too old, it's never too late. And yeah, I hope that inspires somebody out there. It inspired me because I've actually been thinking about taking some classes, and I keep thinking, I'm too old.
You should do it.
I think I might. I think I might.
If you ever doubt, you need to call Angela.
I'll just call Angela and say, all right, can you help me with my math homework, Angela?
Yes, I love math. I can help you with math.
All right. Well, thanks so much for sharing your story with us today. I love hearing people's stories. It's always inspiring, and I think we all can relate to different parts of your story. So thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right, you guys, thanks for joining us on the Fresh Start podcast, and we will see you back here in a couple of weeks. Be well.